Alrighty, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Backbenchers podcast. You guys should probably know the drill by now, so please feel free to grab a quencher and join the adventure as us backbenders back end into who's got the backbone versus who's the backbreaker. Joining me is two brand new hosts to the Backbenchers podcast. We have the lovely Mylo and the lovely Todd. Michael's not the one in the game, by the way, in case anyone was confused. That is a different Michael. Would you two like to introduce yourselves, say a little bit about yourself, maybe what you do, anything interesting you have to say?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, anyone who has something to say, go first.
Well, first of all, you nailed the intro, which is good. So my name's Michael. I played Backyard season 4, so just massive Survivor fan. Just love getting involved with the community, watching these fan-made games. So excuse any crying that you hear in the background. By the way, that's my daughter.
That's all the Simon fans out there.
Sorry, was that?
Simon fans crying that Simon got voted out. You know, just really sad, emotional about it.
Yeah, that was it.
I was just going to say, if you hear crying in my background, it's probably my wife. She's not the biggest Survivor fan, and her having to put up with me talking about Survivor for an hour, that might be a bit of a problem.
Well, at least you're not having to talk to her about it. That's
true. I'm banished to the back room of the house.
Yeah. I'm in my playroom, actually, so there's just toys everywhere.
Alright, we got people in.
I'm Todd. I've been a Survivor fan since the first season of the American Survivor came out, and I've become involved and hooked on Survivor Canberra through some people I used to work with. So I used to work with the awesome host Dan and also Alex from season 1 and Soph from season 2. But I'll be very unbiased in my opinions about Soph tonight.
We'll see about that. I'll keep an eye on what you say about Soph.
I've got 3 pages of negatives all about her.
Oh, okay, don't go that far. Before we get into this episode, did either of you two have thoughts on the last episode, episode 3, because you guys weren't here for that podcast? Any instant thoughts you had about that one?
Not particularly off the top of my head. I didn't have notes for that one. So
I guess a big thing for me was how impressed I was that Mel made it through two tribals without having to use her super idol, even though she had 3 votes coming her way by default. So that impressed me that she was able to keep the target off her back and come through unscathed and still have that super idol.
I was mad impressed, especially because she was quite literally 1 vote away from going. When Anna voted publicly for her, I was quite nervous, thinking, wait, is Mel going to somehow go out accidentally or have to use her idol? Thankfully not, but yeah, it was very impressive for her to survive 2 in a row. Now, she's clean, although we'll see how the future goes for her after this episode. But coming into this episode straight away, we get a recap of episode 3, but then we go into a Kubadang segment. We've got Sophie finding the 2 love rocks because there's 3 left. It's Sophie, Michael, and Joe who have the love rocks, and 2 left. Sophie's grabbed 1, and she's having to discuss with Ma what the strategy is for the other one. What should we do? Do we give it to someone, leave it here? What do you guys think about this, the idea of what do you do with that extra love rock?
Yeah, well, I think that's the conundrum, isn't it? Isn't like whether you use it to build your allies, but in a game where they're probably only known each other for a few hours, you really don't probably want to show your hand straight away in terms of who you're really kind of vibing with. You want to try and probably keep that some of your alliance a little bit secret. So I thought that was probably the most diplomatic. Probably the safest and most diplomatic way of doing it, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think there was any reason for Soph to give the love rock to anyone in particular. Just play the middle, trust in the relationship she's built. I think it was pretty smart the way that she played it.
Yeah,
no blowback on her. Which is good.
especially like Joe the first time kind of set a standard that you make it a bit luck-based, a bit, not necessarily you pick your allies, because Joe said, oh, just, randomly decide. So I think it made sense that Sophie kept it up as long as she's got hers, like she doesn't care where the other ones go. I think that was pretty much it for the very start. And we get the intro and we head over to Winnie, as Winnie was sort of debriefing after the last one. The first thing that stood out to me is James's confessional, where he's like, not sad to see Joseph go. He's my target. He's gone. No complaints about that.
Yeah.
So Joseph going didn't seem like a big shock to most of the tribe. It seemed like it was pretty smooth for them.
Yeah. No. Can we just talk about the orca for a second?
Yes, please.
I love it. He's James. This, him calling himself the orca is good. I just love like when you just. It's pretty corny, but I just love watching like players have a bit of fun with it. It's pretty entertaining. So as much as it's kind of like a bit cringy, and you're just like, I love seeing some players kind of have a bit of fun with the that side of the game.
Definitely show a little bit of personality, get a little bit excited in there, and he's definitely leading into the villain role this time. He was not upset to be a little bit villainous, a little bit sneaky. We kind of hear from a few other people. Simon says, "Oh, Joseph was coming to me, so I'm happy he's gone." Even though it wasn't really Joseph that was targeting Simon, it was more James. But Simon doesn't have to know that yet. James also says, I'm pretty sure in this early bit, that Simon is just straight up his next target already. He's ready to see Simon go next. But there's also a lot of focus on Hayley. Hayley has her ankle injury, sort of a knee situation. We were talking about it last week. Seems like her leg is just in some way not working. Did you guys have sympathy for Hayley, or were you more on the side of it's a bit of a liability for the group?
I think in a rapid pace game over 2 days, it's probably less of a liability. But we do see that play out a bit in this episode, how her tribe feel about that injury. And it does seem to be deteriorating quite quickly as well. So that's a bit of a concern for Hayley.
Yeah. As you said, I don't think injuries do play as big a part. And I think it's just like a real testament to the way that she's playing the game and those social bonds. Because she's had, as she said, she's had like no blowback. She wasn't even an alternate vote in episode 3. So, and I was kind of going through and kind of cross-referencing like who's aligned to who, and she kind of is at the middle of everything really. So I think that her social game is really good. She reminds me a lot of, I played with a player called Kiara, who was quite intelligent, softly spoken, and got along kind of well with everyone. And yeah, she reminds me of her and just a really good social player. So I think it's can't really take anything away from how she's playing, let alone the injury, because some people might get injured and they would get voted out straight away. But for her to be so important to the tribe's dynamics speaks volumes of her.
I think in this game, trust is so important, and people trust Hayley, and it's better having her around, even though she's got an injury, versus someone else that they maybe don't trust as much. I don't know what's going on. I am a bit foggy, aren't I? But I'll take that, Matt. Thank you.
We're just filming in a sauna. It's A-okay. Interesting tidbit from Aston here. Apparently, we just stayed at the tribal council area because Hayley couldn't really go back, which does make sense. You don't want to make Hayley go all the way up the hill just to come back to the challenge. But that explains why they're in a bit of a different area than they normally are.
Okay.
Yeah, Hayley, it's tough because as a fan, I'm like, yes, love Hayley, love what she brings to the show. She's playing really well socially. But I definitely understand how it's such an easy target, because when you only have a few hours, not a few days, you have to find any reason to get rid of someone. And so I understand why people are just easily turning to her and being like, that's an option. Even if we don't go with it, that's an option right there. But Hayley seems to be handling it pretty well, and she's happy that she's not getting targeted. She's saying, this is awesome. I'm trying to kill it socially. I think then the Winnie segment wasn't too big this time. We head back over to Kubadang. where we get quite a bit of Sophie and Ma. Those are the main two players that we see there. I'm curious what you guys thought about Sophie getting a lot of confessionals here, a lot of screen time. Were you thinking it was building up to something? Because when I was watching it, I was thinking she was going to get the Love Rock advantage, not Michael. I was surprised that that didn't happen. What do you guys think, though?
I think maybe it could have just been a bit of a foreshadowing. So she was in our mind as she was involved with the sacrifice twist. So I thought maybe that is the reason. But yeah, in terms of how much airtime I'm not super. I like reading Edgic, but I don't read into it that much when I'm watching it.
Yeah.
I think it was big in terms of that interaction with Ma. Ma's so far come across as a very strategic player, and Ma revealing to Sophie that she had that steal a vote advantage. I think that speaks volumes for the social game that Sophie's playing, that Ma actually trusted her to reveal that, and they talked a bit of strategy about how that might play out down the line at a potential tribe swap.
And maybe probably as well, just kind of reaffirming tribe dynamics as well, that Ma and Sophie are quite a close connection. We saw, I think, Sophie and Ma, then I think Mal and Nick were talking a fair bit. Those kind of guys seem like they're going to be pretty crucial kind of going forward.
Yes, definitely. I guess we should just say the result of the Love Rocks. I think it was maybe Joe who found the final Love Rock. They said that Michael and Sophie could do like another rock, paper, scissors to figure out who got it. And then Michael ended up winning it. Not you, Michael, but Michael in the game. And he reads it out privately. It says that it is a legacy idol, basically a legacy advantage for anyone who knows US Survivor. Not only did played at 10 and 5, but what I really loved was Michael saying he's not going to tell people that it can be bequeathed. He can't give it to people. I assume you guys will agree with me, but isn't that like such a smart strategy considering what normally happens with that?
Yeah,
I don't think it's smart. I think it's obvious.
Yeah, it's funny because there's precedent. I don't know if you guys have watched South Africa, where a player does divulge that they have like a it's not necessarily an idol, but it was like a legacy advantage where they'd go to like an outpost on a certain day, and he used that as like a tool to help build an alliance, and it did work. So there is some precedence, but for me, I would not be telling anyone.
No. I suppose the thing that I'm really interested in too is anyone on WinU still even looking for the Love Rocks? Like, it just, I just don't know what's going on over there.
Because they haven't found any, have they?
I think they found the first set. Yeah. But we're now 4 episodes in, and Kubadang have finished. We didn't really see any of that in this episode from WinU as to what's going on with their Love Rock quest.
Mel is popping in here to say that they found the first round, but they've been at tribal.
They've been at tribal the whole time. Yeah. True, they haven't had as much time to look.
It was Anna, Mel, and Joseph. Joseph's gone now as well, so it's just Anna and Mel. But what I was thinking was, think about how rainy it was this episode. Does anyone really want to go look for rocks anyway? Like, you're just looking around and there's just water everywhere, mud everywhere. I just think it wasn't a good time for WinU to walk, whereas for Kubadang, it just seemed like it was really easy and convenient for them.
Yeah, and it's strategy timing as well. So, and you've got Haley who can't do anything anyway, in terms of walking. But yeah, so it's just critical strategy timing. And as you see, Simon was kind of blindsided, so there was no clear person on the bottom that needed to be looking for rocks in particular, I guess.
And if you are spending a lot of time going to tribal, spending time away from your tribe looking for the Love Rocks could put a target on your back. They can give you the chance to form those social connections.
Yeah. We've also got a bit of foreshadowing here from Matthew. Oh, you think it was rainy this episode? That's cute. Yeah, so definitely Rocks has been such an interesting dynamic this season. Some people have gone for it successfully, then we've got the Graces and the Simons who have been a little bit isolated because they've been walking. For Michael, though, he kind of just got his advantage and then just moved to the side a bit. The main strategy over here on Kubadang was Ma. Ma was saying she is not a fan of Malcolm. She said that Malcolm in the last challenge, there was a situation, didn't even focus on this last time, that apparently Malcolm said that Ma said that Simon was going. If that makes any sense to you guys. Ma and they were having a discussion. Malcolm just said, oh, Ma said it's Simon, so Simon's going to be going. And Ma says that's the confirmation she needs. Malcolm is not working for her. Did you guys think this was a fair assumption, a fair read from Mal?
I think Mars made a not the best read here because Mal actually sees Ma as part of his alliance, even though he doesn't remember her name, which was hilarious. So Ma's read was a bit off, but I do worry what that does mean for Mal. Ma seems quite powerful in the game and has a strong alliance. So if she's coming for Mal, I think he could be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I totally respect Ma having a strong strategy. She seems socially connected. I just find it interesting that Malcolm's the target because Malcolm is not targeting Ma. At least that's not what it seems. With that being said, if you can't remember her name, potentially she's just not that important to you. She's not in your mind all the time. Interesting that Mel's saying here that Mel can't remember her name because we'll get to you later, Mel, but you also forgot someone's name later in the episode. So we'll get back to you. Even Ma is here confirming if you don't remember the name, you're not in the alliance. That's what she's saying. But yeah, that's her thoughts. She's trying to stay low on that one, is what she says. She's not going to say it too much to too many people. A little small bit here that's something I found interesting was Malcolm talking to Nick. And Malcolm said that Banfield was striking up a little bit of a connection with him. And I was expecting Malcolm to say, Banfield's gone, he's trying to work with me. But Malcolm actually then said he could have Banfield on the side, which means that Malcolm would be working with his core four plus Banfield, and then maybe even Joe on the side. Is that actually a thing that you think Malcolm could pull off? Because that's a lot of people. Usually only Mars could pull that off.
Yeah, I think the Kubadang dynamics are quite interesting, and they've been a little bit hard to read because they have only gone once. But thinking back to other episodes as well, and it seems like Sophie and Ma are pretty close, and Ma is essential to a lot of things, but it seems like you've got a few kind of loose kind of free agents that people might be able to grab, Banfield being one of them that Mal's already kind of looking at. So it'll be interesting to see whether as a group, there's that four that kind of stick together, or whether someone will kind of take the bottom feeders or the people who are playing more on their own and kind of make a bit more of a grab for power. So it should be pretty interesting seeing how those dynamics play out.
Yeah, the Kubadang dynamic.
And then there could even be a tribe swap coming up soon as well. So, yeah, I think it could go a number of ways.
I was actually going to talk to you guys a bit later if you guys think there'll be a tribe swap or if you think it will be an early merge, because I was thinking logistically, there's a chance that it could merge at 11 people. And right now, at the end of this episode, we're at 12 people. So it's not impossible that there's no swap. But we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Oh, later? Okay.
We'll get to that maybe. I'm definitely interested in what you guys think about that. As for Kubadang, I think that's mainly it. Did you guys have any other thoughts on that section before we go on to immunity?
No.
Okay, that's pretty much it. Then over to immunity, which I loved. This challenge was really, really entertaining. I don't know the exact name of it, but the idea is you have both the tribes on either side.
Pursuit, I think it is.
Yeah, Hot Pursuit, exactly. Yeah. You guys are trying to catch each other. It's a glorified game of tag, but it looks so cool to see these people just running around in circles. And it can be strategic as well, as we saw in the challenge. Did you guys agree? Was this a challenge you liked watching? Challenge you're a fan of?
Yeah, so one thing I was found weird about the challenge is, so Hayley's injured, right? So she sat off, and then I think, did Sophie sit off as well? So did Dan and Liz allow Hayley to sit out and then make the other team match? Is that kind of what happened, or?
I don't know for sure. The way I was interpreting it was that Kubadang could have done 6 if they wanted to, but Joe just said, I don't want to do it as well. I could be wrong with that, and maybe someone can check in. Hayley wasn't allowed to sit out, had to carry her bag. Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry, what was that?
Was
someone carrying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
yeah.
fine.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Because if I was on purple, I'd be like, no, she can't just sit out. You still have to carry the same amount of bags. So okay, yeah, well, that clears that up.
Yes, everyone's jumping in now to give us extra context. Joe started and gave her bag to Banfield immediately, so that was probably how that situation happened.
Right.
This challenge also seemed to be pretty back and forth. It didn't seem like there was an instant leader like some of the other ones. Seems like at the start, when you had the advantage, because Ma had the disadvantage from last time, that put them back a little bit. And then it seemed like Kubadang got a bit of a lead, but then when you got a bit of a lead, people in both tribes started dropping out, especially on Winyu. Eventually just got to James and Simon. But as much as Winyu tried their hardest, unfortunately, but Kubadang tribe is just too strong, and so Kubadang wins yet again.
Yeah, it looked like Winyu went a little bit too hard too soon for me, and it did break a few of their group. That's what it looked like, and once they got down to 2, they were in a bit of trouble, I think. But I just loved the challenge. For me, it's a Survivor classic, and it was great seeing it on Survivor Canberra as well.
Yeah, and I wonder what the right strategy is as well. Whether do you push hard going up the hill, then kind of rest on the way down, or do you kind of just go slow on the way up and then kind of sprint down? So I think I'd probably lean more towards you try and make up some time on the way up, and then kind of you let gravity kind of take you a little bit on the way down. But I don't know, because you just how not to gas yourself too much is the key, I think. Because as you said, I think when you just kind of gassed themselves. I think as well, because Kubadang had the advantage being 5 meters closer, maybe that's why they were like, let's just go gun ho out of the gates and let's just catch them straight away. But then maybe that was what kind of cooked them.
Yeah, could be.
I think we'd have to ask.
I was really interested how it played out at the end. It seemed like a bit of confusion between James and Simon about where the bags were, and James rushed off and Simon still had a bag. And then you could just see Simon standing there knowing that he couldn't do anything and could see the other tribe just coming up behind him. Would have been a terrible feeling.
Yeah, I thought that was funny because he just kind of stopped with no warning.
Yeah,
he just just stopped, didn't even try and take his bags off too much. He just, which is kind of ironic when he kind of needed the victory, I guess. But he looked pretty gassed. So.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of strategies you can think of. I definitely think that when you're going at the start was a bold strategy, sprinting. But if they were able to make up a lot of distance, I think it would have been fair. I was more interested what my assumption would be. It seemed like James was just on it. He was running fast. He could carry it. I was wondering if Simon was just going to hand everything to James earlier on and James was just going to solo it. I don't know how strong James is. Maybe he wouldn't be able to carry all that weight. But that would have been my thought of just like, okay, everyone go as long as we can. But when it gets to a point people start dropping out, just give it all to the fastest runner and hopefully they can handle it. But then, as you saw, Simon and James just got a bit confused as they were trying to figure out the last one. And then Simon just kind of stopped and then it all fell apart in just a matter of seconds, really. That one little hesitation and it's all over.
I agree, Mylo. I think it would have been really interesting if there was just James left at the end, because I noticed that when there was the larger group of about 4, I think, left in Kubadang, when they were turning the corners, it was a bit slow. And often it looked like being a group was actually holding them up a bit at times. So one person just being able to put their head down and sprint, it could have made it interesting.
Yeah.
Simon had 4 bags and James didn't look good. He couldn't keep up. Okay, James only had 1 bag. Ouch. Why did Simon have to carry all the weight? Why was James only carrying 1? Anyway, yeah, for whatever reason, Winyu couldn't win, couldn't pull it together. So Kubadang wins yet again. We get to another decision on who's going to go to the ultimate sacrifice. I think this was not a huge shock, but Hayley gets chosen from Winyu, and then they choose Sophie, which I think they say a bit later, Hayley chose Sophie because Sophie and Hayley were on the sit-out bench together, so maybe they were talking a little bit, maybe they'd be friends. What do you think about these 2 picks? Were they players you were excited to see go to sacrifice?
Yeah, I mean, I was interested to see how they play it, and I was interested to see if someone was going to, not do what Hayley did and not choose to sacrifice, which was quite an interesting thing. I mean, do we want to talk about that decision or?
Yeah, no, definitely. Go ahead.
It's one of the kind of things I thought was actually a bad decision by Hayley, to be honest. For a couple of reasons. First of all, I think if you choose not to do it, people are always going to have in the back of their mind, oh, did you really choose not to do it? Which I think you see Mel was kind of like, oh, well, it doesn't really mean much that she said she didn't do it. And the other thing is if someone does, sorry, something's just going on in now. But the other thing is if you are bottom of the tribe and you're injured, you might need an advantage. So I thought for both those reasons, she 100% should have just gone for it. What about you?
Yeah, definitely interested by that decision. I'll just say that Hayley and Sophie loved both of them. Thought it was really fun watching them both go to sacrifice. I was definitely expecting Hayley to go for it. I didn't really think there would be any reason for her not to. When she said straight away, like, no, I'm probably not going to do it, that definitely took me back a bit. Not even just because you might get an advantage and it's really exciting, but just because that could help her out in the game right now. She could have picked, like, safety without power, for example, and taken all concern about this one tribal. Like, she could just survive this one tribal, make it one more time. Because she was definitely a target to go. Even though she had relationships that saved her, I definitely think that it was a risk to not try and get anything, because then it's just up to the votes. You don't really have another backup. But yeah, definitely didn't expect that. I will say that.
I think it shows how much trust Hayley did have in the relationships that she built and her alliance in the game, that she didn't take the sacrifice. She obviously had a lot of trust in that people had her back.
Yeah. And that's kind of what she was saying.
But also, if she has the trust in the people that they've got her back, then wouldn't they want her to take the
fair enough.
Sacrifice so that they can get an advantage that they can use as like a team? Like if I'm that ally, I would have been her ally. I would have been like, man, you should have just done it. There's something that would.
Yeah, we had you back anyway. Why not get the advantage as well?
Because if there's a swap, you're going to be, public enemy number one. If there's a swap, so yeah, I don't know. It's one thing I did disagree with on her game. So
we'll see how it turns out for her. It worked at least for this one episode, but I do agree. It's never a bad idea to have a little advantage in your pocket. One good thing I will say is that everyone presumably knows she didn't get it this time. I think Sophie won't lie about that. Maybe she will. I don't know. Oh no, she actually said she was going to lie.
Yeah, she had a bit of a story that she came up with very quickly, which was great. About that Mel, I think, gets to choose someone from the other tribe to sit out. I'm interested how that's going to play out, though, because that seems more of a sacrifice. That doesn't seem like something that that Hayley would get to choose someone to sit out. It doesn't seem like something that Hayley would. She's not sacrificing anything really. So I'm interested to see how that plays out.
I really didn't like that lie either, to be honest. So because what did she said that she didn't choose a sacrifice, and that Haley chose to sit someone out on the other person's tribe for 2 challenges. So it makes no sense doing that, because why would Haley not choose Nick to sit out for 2 challenges?
Exactly.
Because presumably she goes, the sacrifice is that the other team get to choose someone to sit out on your tribe for 2 immunity challenges. Why they're not going to choose Sophie? Presumably they'd probably choose like someone like Nick, who looks like her, who's kind of been doing some of like the big kind of hero moments in the challenges. So I think the more cluey people in that tribe probably catch on to that straight away, to be honest. I don't think that gets
very
quickly. Insider info here, we knew Soph had the advantage because Dan announced that they had the sacrifice, so they knew apparently. I totally agree with you guys though. When I heard that, it took me a second, and then I realized that doesn't really make sense. Why would a disadvantage be you get to sit anyone out of the challenge on either tribe? And also, Sophie wouldn't know that that's a disadvantage. So if she gets told Sophie's sitting out, we're all going to turn to her. Is she just going to say, that means Haley got the disadvantage, and that means Haley has to sit people out? I think it was just one of those times you think of something on the top of your head, but after time, she probably realized it just didn't work out. But they just wanted to show it anyway.
Yeah.
We should also talk about Sophie's decision.
I meant hero. I meant hero in the sense that he does like the hero moments in the challenge, like when just replying to Ma. Like what was it in the tic-tac-toe challenge when it was like him and James facing off? He chose to put himself out there. So
that's tried. You don't talk about that. Sophie ended up going for an expiring idol. I think it was 3 tribal councils that it's good for, or maybe it was 4, 3 to 4.
I think it was 3.
3, okay. But 2 sit out. She has to sit out the next 2 challenges.
Yep.
Which that seems like a pretty hefty for the sake of 3 tribals. You have to sit out 2 of those challenges. That kind of, for me, seems pretty bad, like a pretty bad.
Yeah,
I guess, because that's like 60% of the time that your idol is valid. You have to sit out of the challenges.
It's definitely an argument.
Unless they win the challenges.
Yeah.
Then because
she still has to sit out of them, I guess.
Yeah, but is her idol valid for 3 tribals though? So if they win 2 challenges, she still hasn't gone to a tribal.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that would be helpful down the line. Sophie said at the very start of the game she wanted an immunity idol, so I think it's not a bad thing for her that she got it at all, because it cited a goal for her. That's one of the things she wanted. I think the sit-outs won't be too bad. I could be wrong, but I don't think a lot of people are putting much focus on challenges. Haley did not even get voted out, for example. I think people are prioritizing social connections and strategy over challenges. Even the first couple of votes weren't really about challenges. They, Sam and Brace were not particularly weak. It was just kind of outside of the alliances. But it's still a disadvantage. I think it will potentially hurt her a little bit if people think, well, she's not going to be able to help in the challenges at all. So we could just get rid of her and increase our chances for the next challenge. We'll see how it turns out, though.
I think Soph's in a pretty good spot in the tribe, that her sitting out of challenges I don't think is going to affect her too much. And she identified that herself. She said, this is actually a pretty good sacrifice for me. Challenges aren't my strength. It's my social game that's going to get me through, and I think it probably will.
Yeah. And how would you guys lie about this disadvantage?
I probably wouldn't. I'm not sure
if I don't know if you
could.
I think so, because I was thinking about how would I do it, and I think I'd just say not lie about the disadvantage itself, but lie about the amount of times it happens. So I think this could have even necessarily worked for Mel as well, where she, after that first vote where everyone found out she had 3 votes, you just go, oh no, I had to cop 3 votes for one time. And then people are going, oh, that's sweet. Like next time they're not thinking that she's going to have those 3 votes. And then I guess the same with the challenge. You just go, oh no, I after that challenge, if you lose it, you go, no, I'm fine now. I can go on the next challenge. And then they keep her. And then she goes, oh, actually, surprise.
Yeah.
That's one out too.
Yeah, I don't think you can flat out lie about the whole thing, especially when it seems to be publicly announced at the challenge that there's been a sacrifice and someone has to sit out. But I think there are different things you could lie about, whether like everyone's going to know Soph has an advantage of some kind. So whether you're lying about what advantage you've got, or as Michael said, whether you just, I guess, leave a little bit out and say you're only sitting out one, but it's actually two.
Yeah.
Lots of different options, which is just what makes this game so fun, is that you can think about, like, as viewers, we can think about what we do, but we're just really watching what people have to do in a second. They have to come up with these strategies and just stand by their decisions. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out.
Because Soph knows she does that confessional right there where she's got the idol, and then 2 minutes later she's walking back into her tribe and she's going to get quizzed about what's happened. Mm-hmm. So you do have to think quite quickly on your feet.
Yeah. And if you're not a very good liar, then you might as well just
tell the truth.
Tell the truth, or at least the half truth.
Yeah.
Because you could definitely tell the truth about your advantage without saying how you'll use it. You could definitely do one of those things where it's for the tribe. If we're in a swap, we can use it together. Try and alleviate the target that way, rather than it being like, I'm going to use this for myself, so get me out.
Yeah. And so with these advantages as well, it's going to come in, like, the more advantages that get picked, everyone's going to start knowing which advantages are off the board, right? Or do you only know if an advantage is off the board if you ask for it and it's not there?
I think that's what's happened, because I saw in this episode when Soph picked the expiring idol, Dan said, yes, like, that's still available. So if she picks, I think you don't know until you've potentially picked one that's not available.
And then honestly, you just I think Soph probably picked the super idol and maybe the idol and got told that it wasn't available, and that was just cut out. And then she then went to the other idol. I think she probably went through the powerful ones first. Just my guess.
Because that was one thing I was a bit. So I'm really interested in why people choose particular advantages, and we got like a really clear explanation from Mar as to why she chose the Steeler vote. But I would have loved to hear a bit from Soph about why she chose the expiring idol, because I think for her, only having an idol for 3 tribals when she's in a pretty good position in the game, she might not get to use that. Only maybe if there's a tribe swap or merge, it could be very handy having an idol in that situation and knowing that you're safe at that first vote, because it can go a number of different ways when there's a tribe swap. But there's Soph. She's told us it was the best thing available.
Yeah, definitely a matter of opinion. I totally understand what you're saying, though, because it's limited. Something like a safety without power might not seem like an obvious advantage, but if you get down to the final 7 or whatever, and you just need like a savior, you just run away for an episode and you come back next one. But I think an expiring idol has its use. You've got 3 chances to use it. You can make a big play, or you can just stay safe another round.
Yeah, and I think she probably just thinking that she just wants to get through to merge, so having that just extra assurance just to help kind of get her to that next stage of the game is really handy. So
all right, I think that's pretty much all for sacrifice, unless you guys have anything else. So we'll move on to the Win-U segment. We get to hear from Win-U. Who are they going to send home? Well, Simon has... Oh, hello there. Who's this little one?
Yeah. You go sleep. Go see Mum. Sorry.
You did promise us they'd be crying.
Yeah. Just sit there, okay? Yeah, you know my phone. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good. We head over to Win-U, and the very first thing we see, I think, is first Simon in confessional saying, That challenge was tough, which it was. But then Simon heads over to the whole group and he says, sorry guys, I think it's just going to be Hayley's show. Hayley's not going to be able to help us in challenges. Not making any secret. We're just all going to vote for Hayley. And it's going to be done. What do you guys think of him telling the whole group? Because I was a little
Sorry, guys. I might need to leave you here, to be honest.
No, that's fine.
Come back in like
Okay.
Sorry, give me 2 secs.
I can push you off if you want.
It could have gone either way for me. Everyone could have galvanized around that and thought, yep, Hayley's an easy vote. Someone said it already. Let's just do it. But I don't think Simon maybe had a full grasp of the relationships that Hayley had built with people on the tribe, because I think John waited all of 10 seconds before he went and threw Simon under the bus.
Yeah, I do think Simon was probably a name people were throwing out anyway. We heard earlier in the episode, James said, Simon can be the next to go, doesn't affect me. So I don't think it was necessarily this move that sunk Simon's game, but people instantly were able to use that against Simon, mainly John and Anna. As soon as Hayley comes back, oh, by the way, Simon threw your name out there. Let's get rid of Simon instead.
Yeah, and for me, well, what was I going to say? I was just looking at my notes. Sorry.
No, all good.
What I was going to say was I was really interested about some of the conversations that happened about whether to include Mel in the vote. I think people maybe were worried that Mel and Simon were a little bit close, but she was left out. Hayley, I think, wanted to tell her, but and there was, I think Anna was involved in that too. Or should I say Amy? I don't know, Anna or Amy, one of those. Yeah, so Simon did seem quite broken up, I think, what I thought, like when he was doing his confessional and saying that it had to be Hayley. He seemed pretty devastated. He, I think, wanted to play with her, but saw that maybe it was Hayley or him.
Hello again, Michael. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so first of all, I just thought really good play here by John. I thought the fact that he's just like, nah, don't worry about challenge performance. This time, at this point in the game, you're really just wanting to have people that you're in a really solid alliance with. So for him and Anna just to go straight away, no, Hayley's with us. She's our kind of solid alliance, and to really kind of straight away just put that to bed, I thought was pretty important. So I like that play. That's the way I'd play as well. Is that challenge performance isn't super crucial. So
agreed. I think Hayley is a good.
Sorry, and then just like the other thing is, I just wanted to. This is James's 3-2. This over the top 3-2-1 idea that he had.
I definitely want to talk about that because that was very confusing when I first was listening to that. I did not know what was happening.
Oh, yeah, I had to go back and rewatch it, and even on the second watch, still didn't really understand. I think that had a lot of potential to backfire.
I think what they were saying was that Anna, John, and James were putting their 3 votes on Mel, and that would be the 3 for Mel, 2 for Simon, 1 for Hayley. No, 2 for Hayley, 1 for Simon. But then I was just lost as to why they were targeting Mel. It just didn't seem like it needed to happen. I think they were just getting paranoid about who has an advantage, who doesn't. But really, as far as we could tell, it was always Simon or Hayley this episode. There wasn't any.
I don't think there was a need for a backup option. Like maybe Hayley would have wanted a backup option, but the others didn't really need one. I thought John, like Michael mentioned, being impressed by John. John impressed me as well too. Just in like quickly identifying that Simon actually most likely didn't have an advantage or an idol, because it was Ma who he went to the sacrifice zone with, and Ma when they came back, they had the disadvantage in the challenge. So it was very obvious that Ma had actually made that sacrifice and not Simon. So that was, I think, really quick of John. And that maybe convinced others to not look at that split option.
John and Anna, I'll give both of them credit. They're both really smart right now. I think James is a bit too obvious as a leader, but John and Anna are right in that good spot where they're making decisions, but they're not getting called out for it. We'll see how well they go in the future, but especially John playing a really smart game right now.
Yeah,
definitely feel like John is the one to say, Simon's the one to go. Keep it simple like that.
Yeah. Because John was in a position where he could have gone, like he could have sided with Simon and voted out Hayley, but he chose to go straight to Hayley. Like he was in a powerful position, I think, leading up to this vote.
Yeah. One thing I found interesting that James said as well is that he didn't want to get rid of Hayley because he thought of Hayley as his number, which is kind of funny because you kind of see it's funny. Like, what do you guys think about whether he's also high up on Hayley's list? Because I feel like she's closer with like Anna and John than what she is with James. So it's kind of interesting to see that James thinks that she's his number. When I kind of probably see it more as that like she's in alliance with John and Anna more, and Mel, and you see Mel saying that she's in alliance with John and Hayley.
Yeah, so I don't think Hayley's. I don't think Hayley's anyone's number. I think Hayley's going to do what's best for Hayley, and she seems to be running a lot of the decisions that are being made at that tribe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I think I find it interesting that James said that she was his number. So
definitely interesting. And I want to hear your thoughts, just in general, before we head into tribal council, of Simon versus Hayley. Nick is saying here, Simon seems like he would be loyal to anyone who's taking the chair. Is Simon a good number, or is Simon not a good number? What do you think?
I just didn't hear that. I was my ears prick up when I hear a baby crying. Just wondering whether it was mine.
That's a good instinct.
I just missed that.
No, it's all good. I was just wondering, Simon versus Hayley, who should stay, who should go in terms of strategy, not so much the injury, because arguably Simon does seem like a good loyal number, but if it's not your number, such as what John thinks, it's fine for him to go. Do you think it was smarter to keep Hayley around, or is Hayley going to be more of a sneaky player in the future?
I think people have formed trust in Hayley, but I don't think people realise how strategic she actually is. We've got to see a lot of insight through her confessionals, and maybe people aren't seeing that. So I think that's really interesting how that will play out. But I think Simon was seen as maybe someone that if it got to merge or a tribe swap could potentially flip, and that was seen as a greater risk.
Yeah, I think as well. It's just those that doesn't always translate in the shows. It's those kind of small interpersonal kind of connections that you have. So, with Simon, you just might not feel quite as close on like a personal level as you do with Hayley. So I think that just kind of played into it a little bit more. I think you saw in that first episode, John and Simon, there was a little bit of friction there. So I think that does play a big part.
Yes, definitely. And I do think ultimately that was probably what pushed Simon to go. John and James both wanted Simon to go, which was just too many people who were happy to see Simon go instead of Hayley. And Anna as well, actually. Anna seems to be close with Hayley. I think we can head over to Tribal Council. Usually the Tribal Council questions aren't too unique because people don't want to spill too much about their games. If I am wrong, though, I do think that Simon does say outright Hayley, is not necessarily going to be good in challenges. Did that happen? Did Simon kind of just say Hayley's his target? Did that?
What was that? What do you mean? Sorry.
In Tribal Council, did Simon basically say Hayley was the one who should go?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't recall either.
Can't recall that.
There's tribal councils, unfortunately, people don't usually say a lot because that's the smart thing to do. You don't want to spill your whole game to the host. You want to keep it secret so then you can blindside people.
Yeah.
What we should get to, though, is Anna's public vote. She just outright votes for Simon. Didn't see much of a reaction from Simon, but I thought he would be like shocked that Hannah voted for him. But I guess not.
Well, maybe
for me, that's my biggest question that I want to ask Simon is what was going through his head at that exact moment, because did he know that vote was coming his way? If he didn't, then that would have made him very worried, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, because there's two ways to look at it. Is that if maybe Simon did know about it, and then he thought that he was like the decoy vote, and that everyone else was going to vote Hayley. So maybe if he'd seen like a Mel or a Hayley vote, then maybe he would have been like, "Oh shit, what's going on? Like it must be someone else." So, but I mean, that's the only time that I could have seen that 3-2-1 making sense, is if Anna did vote for Mel just to kind of throw everyone completely off the scent. Yeah, I think. But yeah, no, I think, Simon must have known that was coming because he just.
Yeah, the way he reacted, I think he must have known. Or the way he didn't react, I should say.
Like, oh, Hayley's going, but I'll just vote for Simon so that Hayley doesn't see it coming. Something as simple as that. And then, surprise, surprise, Simon's actually going.
Yeah.
What I will say is, though, that Mel had a reaction. I'm not sure if you guys remember that, but Mel kind of turned to John, being like, so why the Simon's vote? I'm not sure. Maybe that was not actually a thing. Mel can confirm here. But I saw that and I was thinking maybe Mel doesn't know that Simon's getting the votes.
And you were right. She didn't.
She didn't. I think we can head over to the votes. We see Simon vote for Hayley, and then we see Hayley vote for Simon. Really simple, 1-1. One of them's going to be going. Who is going to go?
I went in the vote. I loved Hayley's voting confessional as well. The cockroach swan song one-liner, that was pretty good.
It's either a swan song or it's going to be my cockroach arc, and I guess we now know that's a cockroach arc, at least for now. You try to get squished.
Yeah. No, so I'm looking forward to that and seeing how she kind of goes moving forward.
Yeah, I was a little bit nervous when the votes are being read. I thought Hayley might be going, but ultimately it is 4-2. Simon ends up going out. Seems a little bit surprised, and then walks out relatively graciously. In his final words, though, very interestingly, he says, "You know who did it? It was Mel. Mel, Mel flipped the votes against me." What do you guys think of this?
I think it was really funny because I think he had a really good read on the game in some senses. Like he was right onto Mel's advantage, knowing that it must have been probably like the really big one. But he just kind of lacked that bit more of that kind of awareness of like the social dynamics, I think, which kind of he didn't really quite have his finger of the pulse of what was happening in the tribe. Even in some of the other tribes, he wasn't aware that other people were driving the votes. I don't feel so. I think that was kind of a little bit where his downfall led. I mean, you even see at the earlier in the episode, he's like, "I think I'm in a pretty good spot." But then like everyone's like, James is saying Simon's next. Everyone's just saying Simon's next. So just didn't quite have that social read. But I think, the read on the other parts of the game was pretty good by him.
Yeah, all good. If you want to, we can actually bring Simon in and you can ask him any questions. Right. I think he's ready to go. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Simon.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Simon. How you going?
Hey, Simon.
Good, Michael. Todd, can you do me a favour?
Yep.
You really need a bathrobe. Just to it looks like a steam.
I don't know what's going on. If I rub that?
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. A bathrobe will finish it off.
Yeah.
Mylo, how are you?
Yeah, good.
Doing well, thank you.
Good. That was interesting. I've been watching
All
for
right.
about 20 minutes, and I so wanted to jump into all this stuff you've been talking.
Oh, that's good. That's what we want.
Yeah,
Want
it's
the
hilarious.
juicy
Yeah.
details.
If you guys have any thoughts, please tell us. Like any thoughts on what we were just saying. What do you have? Any?
Michael, you're wrong. Todd, you're wrong. Mylo, you're wrong. No, the edit means everything. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't even seen the episode where I get voted out, believe it or not. I've been away.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't watched it. My wife is still down. Carlene's still down in Melbourne. We went there for her sister's wedding on the weekend, and I started it and then went, no, I better wait. And I just still haven't even watched it. And I've been watching this and talking about it, and I've actually got it on in the background, just ready to roll through.
Just a spoiler alert, you get voted out.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Coming.
So I had one question. It's a bit of a silly question, but in the episode, James calls himself he calls himself orca.
The orca amongst whales. Yeah.
The apex predator, and he called you plankton.
Yeah.
So what if you thought you were a sea animal? What would you be?
What would I be? I'm trying to think of something that would. I'd like to be a sea lice on the butt of James. No. What would I like to be? A remora.
Okay.
That would be fitting in the game. Yeah.
I don't know what that is. So
well, it holds on to the bottom of larger fish.
Oh, yeah.
Does nothing and just uses them to get food and to move through the ocean for them. That would have been a better strategy than the one I had, which was pretty skinny, I'll give you.
Well, that's a better answer than I was expecting. So good job.
Right. Yeah. Thanks. Who wants to start?
Well, I kind of asked my question before.
Right.
So I don't know if you heard it, Simon. I'm interested to know whether you knew that Anna was voting for you in a public vote, and if you didn't know, what was your thought process when she did say your name?
I knew I was in trouble because when you're not getting talked to, and people making out they're talking to you, it's not good. I was fighting hard that whole episode in the background, just trying to come at the group from different angles and different people. And some people just didn't want to talk to me. They'd made their mind up in episode 1. But anyway.
Can you name any names?
No, I don't think I need to. If you watch back, people have decided without even talking.
I think we might know who you're talking about.
Yeah, if you make your mind up before you even know somebody or talk to them, well, then so be it. That's a reflection on you, not on the person that you're not talking to. I suppose that's the way I see it. No, I just didn't. I knew I was on the fringe, but if you go back and look at the episode, I was sitting down in the front row, right hand corner, which is left as you look at it, and everybody came in, and James sat beside me and tapped me on the shoulder, and you have a look at my face. I just went, oh shit! I knew straight away. I knew it was me, and then it just unfolded, and it was almost like it was already spelt out. That one pat on the shoulder, and I went, oh my god, it's done, righto. So that was it. I knew John was pulling the strings, and I actually said it in one of my interviews during the game. It was John was pulling the strings the whole time. So I knew that James was getting used, although James wanted to take all the credit for it. James was just the henchman. Anyway, it's easy to read if you sit back and watch it.
Yeah, I had a question in terms of you spoke a lot. I respect your strategy of the uncommon pairings. It's something that when I played in my season, it's something that I kind of looked at doing with, opposite for me. I wanted to kind of pair with like older women and that kind of thing. Was that going into the game? Was that something that you went in for strategy, or was it just something that you kind of came with?
No, I had no strategy because I'm a filthy casual. My wife tells me. I was building sets, and with a couple of days to go, somebody pulled out, and ta-da, Simon's in. So so as an alternate, and my wife put me down as an alternate, I suppose. So I watch a little bit of the game. I know this is going to kill some people, but I watch a little bit of the game, and I find it really interesting. I love George, but anyway, and some of the really clever things that people do. So I came in with nothing. I really did. But to the game's credit, I mean, it's really fast moving. This stuff over the weekend, and you've got to be so switched on. I mean, I thought I was talking and listening and I was trying to be a really good listener really early on. And people took that the wrong way, that, Joseph thought I didn't like him. And in reality, Joseph and I should have been teaming up together like those people on the fringes. So as a case study for me, having gone through this, I saw it and went, it's funny perception. You think you're being conversive and you're a good listener and you're being engaging, and people, because you're not talking, go, oh, they don't like me. It was amazing how quickly it moved and how often that came up. Like, it came up a couple of times. There are some times where personalities just gel, and Mel and I just gelled pretty quickly, and that was pretty good. Although I'm sorry, Mel, you and your bloody golden apple. I did point the finger at you, and it was unwitting. I should have known it wasn't you. That was just silly. And I've got to tell you, what was a surprise was getting voted out hurts. Jeepers creepers, that hurts a lot. And you got to deal with it really quickly, and you got to deal with other people that are really hurt from getting voted out, which is interesting. An interesting case study in how we react to not being liked ourselves. So, holistically, it's put a lot of arrows in my quiver. Yeah.
That's good.
Did I answer your question? Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was good.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because it's a game about kind of social rejection. You're voting people out of the group. So even if you feel like, oh, it's just a game, you do get your feelings hurt if people vote you out. Because
Absolutely.
You can feel like they didn't like you.
And you're going to draw people in that I like you, and stab in the back, you're gone. Like it's fast and it's hard. And I'd like to say you've got to be protective of yourself, but I think you can't afford to. You've got to just get in there and really have a crack, and you've got not only really have a crack, you've really got to think about what you're doing, and it's not just a simple layer. It's just so many layers. And I remember talking to somebody later, and I'll just allude to this, somebody that is still in the game, and they were talking about how they were sitting there at night working through all the relationships at 1 a.m. because it was finally the time where everyone had gone to sleep. And I just went, gee, that's commitment. And they'll know who they are because we had that conversation, and they'll know what they did. And I found that extremely impressive that they waited that long in the game, to wait for everybody and just lay there and make out you're asleep and then go through all the relationships on your phone that had no reception. It was just, that's committed.
Were you guys allowed your phone?
Yeah, somebody must have their phone. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they did. Maybe it was a notepad.
Joseph brought out his phone to check the time at some point and made it into the edit of the show. Like, Joseph was just checking his phone and putting it back in.
Well, there was no reception. We were in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
There's a question there that's just come through from Ma. Simon, do you think you would do better on a second attempt? Did you pick up any tips?
Absolutely. There are so many things. I came in with so little knowledge and so little understanding, and within how long was I there? 4 episodes. I learned so much. It was just ridiculous. I'm even using it at work. Anyway, yeah.
And on the topic of tips, people are wondering about Carleen. If anyone doesn't know, you're connected to Carleen. So Did Colleen give you any hints, any pointers?
Oh, she probably did, but there's so much going on. It's so quick, unless you're a couple of pointers along the way, probably don't do a lot for you unless you really, really take it on board. Anyway, it's a hard one because it's flying. Anybody that's done this weekend stuff would know it just flies so quickly. It's ridiculous. Yeah, you don't have
I was just going to say, speaking of Carleen, I'm wondering if there's been any bragging rights between the two of you. I believe Carleen made it a little bit further in the game than you.
Oh, no, she definitely didn't make it any further than me. She actually was...
Is that why you're not watching the episode?
No, I've got her bound in the bedroom. She's not coming out, no. She's very kind, and she said, we left about the same time, and so her game was would have been a million times better than mine, and she's sharp as a pin. Yeah.
So at the time of when you got voted out, how did you see the tribe dynamics at that point in time? Who did you see as the ringleader, I guess? I know you talked about John. With James as kind of his henchman. How did you kind of see Hayley and Anna and Mel fitting into that?
Look, I saw them as being integral, but it was John pulling the strings. It was quite easy to see because John just sat back and you didn't. I hardly talked to John, and John never talked to me. So I was interesting. The dynamic was just big for me. I don't know if that.
I'm going to have to put this one to bed, all right? So
yeah,
sorry.
You're right. See, bud. I don't know if it was just intuition, but pretty easy to see, And to James's credit, James thought he was playing really, really hard, really, really hard. And there's a number of instances if I could go back and talk about, where he was just playing. And you talked about, let's go back. Can we go back and talk about an instance? And you alluded about it before. You alluded about the sandbag race. Go and have a look at that sandbag race again and see how many bags he isn't carrying. And then Todd, you said, Simon looked like he gave up. Well, no. Simon didn't. James charged off, and I said, wait. And then he charged off. James was playing really, really hard. Dead to me. No, joking.
I meant more that you, by that point, James had charged off and you couldn't do anything. So you just kind of realised that the group was catching up to you.
I said, give us a second, and then he leapt forward.
He'll
have a different take on it, as we all do. But anyway, James was playing hard, really hard. You have a look. Yeah. Anyway.
It does.
We
come
can check the footage.
Do you think Joseph put his hand up willingly to hold the bucket to catch the bags? No, he was set up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It does come across, I think, in the first few episodes that James is playing hard.
There's a question there from Grace saying, "Do I regret it?" Grace, yeah. No, I don't regret it because we all had to carry a load. And if I had to carry more and people wanted to set me up to look like I was a failure, well, that's an insight on them, not on me. I trust myself, and I carried a bag straight from the start for Hayley. It didn't worry me. Yeah.
It's written down here. John is saying you were a powerhouse for that challenge. You had Hayley's bag plus Mel's.
Yeah,
and then did you try and take John's as well?
Well, you if you ever listen, when the last bag comes across, somebody says to someone else who had one bag, you take it. You've only got to listen to the episode again. Now that you've seen it once, go back and have a look, and you can pull it all apart. It's right there for you, but you only see it sweep past, and then you go, "Oh, that's how it is." But yeah, no, go and have another look. There's a lot to it. It looks really simple when you watch it once, but with a few tidbits, you can put things together. But then I had a ringside seat, so it was easy for me. Yeah.
Out
I'm
of
not-
curiosity, when did you find out Mel didn't vote for you? Did you know that day after you were done, or did you have to find out later on that Mel was not the reason you went out?
I had to find out later on. To be honest, I had my raincoat on and my hat on. You couldn't hear a thing. It was pissing down with rain. It wasn't just rain. That was buckets of water coming out of the sky on people. Like, it was absolutely teeming. Yeah. Yeah. What is Madison saying? Who other than Hayley would you have liked to have seen go if you hadn't? Oh, look.
Another target in mind?
That's a really good question, Maddie. And thank you for ringing me and supporting me, darling. That was very nice of you. Who would I have liked to have gone? I wanted to get John, but I couldn't even get any traction to break any cracks to get in, and I knew I was dead. It was so disheartening. And I actually said it in one of my confessionals. I said, I'm dead here, and I just can't get in. I'm on the outer. But that was my own fault. That was my own game. I was, don't talk to me about love rocks ever again. I'll just lose
They
my
definitely hate rocks for you. You are not loving the love rocks.
But I think in this fast-paced game, all it takes very early on is one little thing, and that puts a target on someone's back. And everyone was keen to find the love rocks. I just think you were pointed out as someone who'd run off, and probably wasn't very fair, but it was what happened very quickly, and then it was a bit hard for you to get back from that point.
Todd, I misread it, and I thought you had to have one to go on. It was stupid of me. But anyway, I missed. Yeah, I got it wrong, and I'll happily say it. I cocked up. I got it wrong, and then it was too late. And it was like, dude, you idiot. I was the bloke in the back giving myself uppercuts. Anyway, that's how quickly it is. And they'd already formed, and the nucleus, and there was. Once that's done, it's too hard. I mean, I thought I had a bit of natural chemistry with Mel, and we did. Like, we still get on really well, and we chat, and she's buzzing away in the background. I just saw her then before. And no, I don't blame you and your golden egg. I had a little bit with Anna. Sorry, not Anna.
Hayley or Sam?
Sam. But Sam disappeared really quick. I tried to get in with Hayley early on, but I don't know what happened there. Picked another side. Picked a better side because she got to merge. So we'll see. It's if you get to wherever you get to, and that's really it. I mean, let's face it. There's some things that you don't want to do, and that is get voted off first. God, everybody.
You survived 2 trouble councils. That's definitely impressive.
Yeah.
Sophie, just want to give you a big clap for these sets and props you do, which is awesome, actually. You do a great job.
Thanks. Thanks. There's a bit of work in it. There's more work in carrying it out and setting it up. 10 o'clock at night on a Sunday night, and you're trying to pull it down. Yeah. Anyway. No, that's good, and that's how I started. I always wanted to support Carleen and get in, and that's the stuff I like, is building. So I do it for a job, so it was easy for me to do. So that's for me, it's a no-brainer. But thanks for thanking me, and we'll try and get it better. And we're honing our craft at the moment, so we're getting better and better and better at it. So hopefully one of these days,
3 pop off. It'll be the best set design we've had.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6. Just ask Daniel. He's committed.
All right. Anyone have any other questions they wanted to ask Simon? Any final thoughts that we had?
No, just thanks for being past season, mate. I thought you were really entertaining, and I'd like to see you again one day. You good?
Michael, thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, that I was MIA, but
No, that's all right. You have to put the kids down. Mate, that's the one thing I took from this. I mean, we started off and we were a bit dull, and what I kept saying to everybody was, make it good TV. And if you listen to my confessionals and you some of the comments I make and a bit of banter with the other side, well, that's all just about trying to make it entertaining so that people watch. Because, you can have a really good game and be boring as batshit and no one's going to look at you and go, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Yeah, just make it good telly.
I agree. You were really entertaining to watch, and I can't wait for Survivor Canberra Blood vs. Water when you and Carleen are back together.
Yeah, well, won't that be something? I'll be eaten alive by a minnow by piranha. There you go.
Getting a lot of love in the messages for you. I also wanted to say that I loved watching you play. Even though we had that moment where I might have ranked you low on the pre-season ranking, I was definitely impressed with your character. Brought a decent bit
I never saw anything after that. I blocked you, so it doesn't matter. No, I've never seen. I know you said that I got voted low, and I was like, oh, is there voting? Oh, is there this? Oh, is there that? I've got no idea. Anyway, it was great fun. Recommend if anybody gets a crack, you should put your hand up because it was a good weekend. You met some good people, and you got to really come in with some energy to keep moving and shaking. It was good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. Really thanks for being here.
Thanks, Simon.
No worries.
Thanks, man.
See you guys.
Simon is out. What a good bloke. I was really happy with him on the show. He brought a decent bit. All right. I think we move on now to if you have one funniest moment or even just favorite moment from the episode. Like one thing that really stood out to you guys. You guys have any picks for that?
Yeah, I've got one. There was the obvious ones around some people not remembering people's names. But for me, actually, the funniest moment came in the Dream Team footage when the voiceover was over the immunity challenge being explained, and one of the stand-ins gets tagged and is having a tantrum on the ground. And I'm thinking, well, I'm a primary school teacher and I've got a 16-month-old daughter, and so I've seen a few tantrums in my time, and that one was right up there.
Yeah, that was good. I think a few Backyard Survivor alumni were doing that Dream Team Challenge.
You recognise the faces, or
you
recognise
all the backs?
Tantrum.
Did you recognise the backs that you stabbed?
The one from my season, and the one in the red shirt, that's I believe that's Matt C. So he helps out. But yeah, no, that was fun. I did think that was funny too. I kind of laughed out loud when I saw that. Just kind of a little scoff.
I got to say my favourite moment, very typical, but Mal not being able to know Mar's name. It came out of nowhere for me because I'm thinking, why is he struggling with this? I feel like Mar is not an easily forgettable personality. She's very social, very bubbly. And he was sitting there and I counted, it was 11 seconds. He was waiting to remember her name. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Let's head on to the awards. So I'm not sure if you guys saw the last episodes, but you get to give out a gold, silver, and bronze award. It can be gameplay, it can be just your favorite characters, really whatever metric you want to use. But yeah, if either of you guys have your picks already, feel free to tell us.
Do you want to go first, Todd? Or
yeah, I'm happy to go first.
Yeah.
So I'll go bronze first. I gave my bronze to John. I think we saw a few things in this episode that showed some strategic and forward thinking from John. He obviously had a bit of history back to the first episode with Simon, but he was really in that power position with this vote when Simon called out Hayley. He could have gone for Hayley and probably brought the numbers that way, or he could have shifted them onto Simon, which is what he did. And he also worked out around the that Simon didn't have an advantage because Ma had that had the disadvantage as a result of the sacrifice. So my bronze went to John. My silver went to Soph. So I think this episode really showcased her social game. She built trust in Ma, that Ma had shared her advantage of the Steeler vote with her. Just really quickly, she also even built trust with Hayley, that in that moment they were sitting on the sit-out bench together, that they obviously bonded really quickly, and that was the reason why Hayley chose Soph to go to the sacrifice zone with her. Soph also picked up an advantage of her own in that episode, and she's in a really good spot that she's got a strong alliance. So my silver went to Soph. And my gold for this episode is Hayley. I think the fact that she's got through 2 tribals with a very, very obvious target on her back. She's clearly built a lot of trust and strong connections in her tribe. And the alliance that she's got, I think, holds her in really good stead moving forward. So she got my gold for this episode.
Yeah, cool. Mine kind of similar, actually. So I gave my bronze to Hayley. Similar reasons as you. I think she's building heaps of those social connections. She seems to be pretty well in the middle of a lot of these alliances. Everyone wants to work with her, which is great. I probably just marked her down a little bit because I did disagree with her choice for not taking it. I understand she was just doing what she felt best for her, but I think in that situation, you always got to try and take the chance. I gave my two. I gave this one to Anna. So I think Anna's just kind of going a little bit under the radar at the moment, but when you watch a lot of the conversations, she's right there. So she's obviously really connected well with Hayley. You always see her having some good conversations with James. The key voting block from this episode that I saw that was kind of making all the calls with John, Anna, and James. So she's right in the middle of everything. But I think she's just kind of floating under the radar with some of the bigger characters that are around. So I think she's quite well placed. And I love her hat as well, the Spacey Jane hat. And then my gold was John. So I think he's playing really well. I think he was probably one of the, from what we saw, one of the key drivers on this vote. You saw that after Simon mentioned having to go for Hayley potentially, as soon as Hayley came back, you see him. He's proactive. He goes straight to Hayley. Goes, that's not happening. Let's go Simon. And I think he's really well connected and in a good spot at the moment. So yeah, 3 votes. 3 votes to all the gold to John.
That's nice. I mostly agree with both of yours. I had slightly different permutations though. I said Anna for bronze, mainly for the same reasons you said, Michael. I think she is in a good position, but kind of under the radar. No one's really mentioned her as a target since, I think, episode 1. And even though she's literally publicly voting, she's telling everyone who she's voting for. People are fine with that. People are just like, yeah, that's just Anna. So really impressed with how she's doing, giving her a bronze. Might be a little bit controversial for my silver. I am going to give it to James. I understand that John as well had a decent hand in this one, but I'm giving it to James specifically because I feel like from the start of the episode, he called out his target, and at the end of the episode, he got his target out. It was a really simple, clean move on his part. It was, I want Simon out, Simon's going. So I give him, Anna, and John all equal credit. Those are like my 2 to 4. But I just put James at number 2 because he was the one who was like vocalizing it the most. Even if he was trying his 3-2-1 split, thankfully that didn't happen. My number 1 goes to Sophie because I think Sophie had an excellent episode, even though she didn't go tribal, doing any strategizing in that regard. She seems like no one is targeting her on the side. I don't think anyone has thrown her name out as someone to go. And almost everyone else has had a target on their back except Sophie. I think her sit-outs won't infect her, and I think even though expiring album might not be super helpful, it could still just be like a little extra boost for her. So Sophie's got my gold for this week. I think she's got a bright future ahead of her. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Before we wrap it up, what is your predictions for what happens next week? Who do you think might lose? Who do you think might go? What do you think will happen?
It's such a hard one, and it's the eating challenge. I think if when you go again, it's actually a really interesting dynamic on that tribe. Mel's been left out of the vote. She's got the super idol. And the other 4 do kind of seem pretty tight, so it'd be interesting to see where the numbers kind of fall in that one. So as sad as sadistic as it is, I kind of would love if we knew to go back, because I just want to see what would happen, because you've got Mel's got an idol, Anna's got an idol, so like those 2 people potentially safe. Yeah, so that's a big one. Just before I forget, with Mel and the super idol, I'd love to see her come out in like the next couple of rounds and just play really aggressive with it and let people know that she's got it, because I know that in a lot of the American seasons, what happens when they kind of get out and make sure everyone when everyone knows that they've got it.
Sorry, I'm not sure if that's what you thought.
They're too afraid to target that person, because then everything's going to go blow back on them. So I would really love to see if maybe if it's an emerge or whatever, someone try and a majority try and flush that successfully, because it's never been done in Survivor history. But I'd love to see Mel come out and be super aggressive with it and be like, mate, I'm not going home, so you guys need to figure out what's going on next. Who's going to come to me? Who wants to be my alliance and ride on my back with this super idol that can take us to the end? Because so I'd love to see that from Mel. But
I agree. I think it's got more power if you actually
100%.
name it and say to people that you've got it, because no one's going to vote you out, because you are then choosing who you want, and that person who's just wanted to vote you out, they could be that target. So I think it's got a lot of power if Mel reveals it publicly, and I'm really fascinated to see how she does choose to use it, because keep it secret and have it as a backup, or make it public and try to get some power in the game.
With your situation, you were saying, Michael, it would be so interesting. I'm not sure if there's a swap, by the way. We can talk about that in a little bit. But if when you lost again, everyone votes for Mel. Mel plays her super idol. She can just choose who goes home. She can't choose Anna, because Anna would be safe. But if she just voted her one vote towards James could go out like that. So that would be really, really interesting if that happened.
Yeah, but then if she tells everyone that she's got it, then they're not going to vote for her. that's my thinking, because if she goes, hey, look, I've got the super idol, vote for me if you want, but I'm just going to choose who's going next, and then no one's going to want to vote for her, so they'll all come up with their other plans, and then she doesn't have to play it. That's the way I kind of see the best way to use a super idol.
Exactly, and she never has to play it unless she gets voted out. So it's very, very powerful. Interestingly, John has just said that Mel did tell James and him during this episode that we didn't quite see that she does have the super idol. So interested to see how that plays out.
And they still blindsided her after that. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Blindsiding someone with the super idol. Jeez. While I would like to see that, I just need a Kubadang tribal council. They're a good group, but I need to see them strategize again, because we haven't really seen a lot from Michael Banfield recently. We don't really know where some people's heads are at, and I want to know how the dynamics will shape out. I really want to see who would go for that.
Yeah, I think just to see exactly where the allegiances lie, because at the moment there's a lot of kind of, we think they're together, but there's definitely a few really strong pairs, but we just need to kind of see where that really shakes out. So
I'm fascinated to see just with the number of advantages and idols that are accumulating in this game. Nothing's been played yet, but at some point things are just going to go nuts.
It's going to go crazy.
And there's potentially going to be some really, really hectic tribal councils where votes could be stolen and idols played. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Advantage getting, they call it, where just like everyone just pulls out all their advantages and just everything goes to. So there could be someone really unlucky in that case who was never supposed to go home in that tribal, who just gets, who's just the unlucky one.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me if there's someone who goes with one vote, or there's rocks, or it could go a number of ways. Hopefully all these advantages and idols make it to merge, and then it's really hectic.
Yeah, don't talk about rocks.
Not go there. We spoke about this briefly earlier, but there was no tease of a swap in the next time on, right? Nothing like drop your buffs, nothing like that. There's a chance that there is no swap. What do you guys feel about that before we finish up? Sorry.
So how many we got now? 12.
12.
Yeah, okay. And it is a beer final 3, won't it?
Most likely, but we don't know for sure, but most likely final 3.
Okay. So you'd think
final 11 or final 10 it could merge.
Yeah, I wonder if they just go, because it seems like a bit silly to kind of swap it, because it doesn't look like they're swapping next episode.
No.
Would be a bit silly to swap at 11, then straight away at 10. That seems pretty close. So maybe they either merge at 11 or 10.
I think it's looking like it's going to go straight to merge.
Yeah.
The thing is, because of the ultimate sacrifice, people are meeting one-on-one at the sacrifice. So that could be their way of, without having a swap, people can meet and form little bonds cross tribes. Yeah. Otherwise, you fear, like, the Krubadang just sticks together. They're hoping that Krubadang has a couple connections with Winyu that'll pull them across, or something like that.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
Aside from that, in the preview, there's just a food competition, and there's a lot of rain, so it would be fun to check out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So things are going to get pretty crazy with the rain, so that should be interesting. I wonder if that affects the strategy a little bit, because people aren't wanting to move around too much. So
definitely, it's harder to be like, oh, I'm going to go get water when it's just raining heavily ahead of you, and everyone's just trying to huddle together.
Yeah.
I think just calling back to the very first episode, you might remember that in the local Ngunnawal language, Winyu actually means sun. And there doesn't seem like there's much sun coming in the future episodes, and Winyu seem like they're in a lot of trouble. So unfortunately, I don't see a bit of a sunny future for Winyu.
No,
that's good.
A lot of rain, a lot of downpour for them. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we wrap this up? Anything else you wanted to say about this episode, about the future?
I just really like enjoying the season. We're just kind of, I don't know if you guys are watching Australian Survivor at the moment as well, but there's just a lot of good Survivor going on at the moment. So my missus is not too happy with all the American Survivor starts on Thursday.
Yeah,
so,
it does. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm just really enjoying the season. Dan and Liv have done a really good job. The production value is definitely kind of gone up a notch this season. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to how the rest of the season shakes out. It should be a fun ride.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with Michael. I think the start of the season's been fantastic, and things are set up really, really nicely for what I think should be a really enjoyable next batch of episodes.
Yes, I am looking forward to it. The advantages that are in play, the relationships we have, I think it won't be a boring, we know who the next vote's going to be before it even happens. I think it should be really exciting. Still got a bit to go there, but these 4 episodes, really, I don't think there's been a dud yet. All the episodes have hit in one way or another. So hopefully just stays on that course. All right. I think it's best we head off, but I'll be back next week most likely. We'll see how it goes, but I'm sure you'll tune in either way.
Well, thanks for having me on. Sorry, apologies that I had to.
Please. We love a little, what's the word for it? Like a mutiny almost, just like mutinying over to join our little podcast here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed the chat tonight, and I'm going to get back into the sauna.
You didn't leave the sauna. I'm pretty sure you're still out of the sauna. Oh, good. Thank you, guys. See you.
Yeah.
See ya.